Rose Price, growing up in a little city in Poland, what is your recollection of Jesus?
There are many bruises on my body in the name of Jesus. I was hit in the head with a cross with Jesus on it by a priest in the habit, and my crime was that I walked on the sidewalk where the church was.
A Jew wasn't allowed to walk over there?
No, because I defiled the church. I was 7 or 8 years old at the time. Anti-Semitism I always knew. I was called Christ killer, I was called dirty Jew, I was hit with stones when I would go to the Polish school. So I knew I was different. And then in 1939, September 1, then it really was happening. That's when Germany invaded Poland. And with a short time, we were thrown out of school. We were thrown out.
What were you told when you were thrown out of school?
Actually, we were told never to come back. Like, you Jews do not come back to the school anymore. And the next thing, we were thrown out of our home into the ghetto.
Tell me what life was like in the concentration camp.
Oh, Lord. Well, we worked around, sometimes around the clock. We were constantly beaten. We had to make so many boxes a day of ammunition. And if not, you never left the machine. You had to make it. If you had to stay a whole week without stop. Our food consisted on one slice of bread, 1/4 of an inch thick, and 1 cup of coffee, and sometimes a cup of soup. The torches, every Saturday afternoon, we would be marched up to the upper room, and this is what they called it, the upper room. And everything I want you to know was done in the name of Jesus.
Tell me one of the worst things you can remember happening to you personally in the camp.
There's so many. I think the one with the experimentations.
What kind of experimentations?
Where we were undressed in Bergen-Belsen and stayed in the snow for 24 hours. I know it started at nighttime, and we stayed a whole night and a whole day. And many, many people died, fell, and that's how I survived. Their bodies fell against mine. And they would come every so often to take blood to see. The whole experiment was how quickly could the blood freeze and the people die.
A miracle happened. You survived.
Yes.
Why did you think you survived? How did you survive? And so many others didn't.
Well, for many, many years, I was asking the same question, why is God punishing me? Because I felt so guilty of surviving. There were more worthy people than I to survive.
You come to America, you get married, you become active in the synagogue right across the street. You were what, were you the president?
I worked up to presidency.
So if you're not even believing in God, why were you in the synagogue?
I was a good social Jew.
Okay, so one day your daughter comes home and she says to her mother, I believe in Jesus.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, after they revived me, after 3 days, I threw her out.
Real? Your own daughter?
My own daughter,
Why?
I threw her. She went to my enemy. Because in the name of Jesus, all the atrocities were done.
So you kicked your own daughter out?
Yes.
And then shortly, your younger daughter, same thing?
Same thing. And my husband.
Your husband went to check on the 2 girls.
Yeah.
And what did he find out when he went to check?
That they were all sitting on the floor and praying for me. And he felt so bad that he sat down and he prayed. Now, my husband wasn't a praying man. I couldn't get him into the synagogue.
You're telling me he believed in Jesus?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got a family that, oh no. You
Yes.
picture that? She's got her whole family now believes in Jesus. Did you go to the rabbi for help?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I was running to the rabbi day and night until I went there with Isaiah 53. Then he threw me out.
Whoa, slow down. Why did a rabbi, you're the president of the sisterhood, why would he throw you out?
Because a Jewish woman does not read Isaiah 53.
But that's in the Jewish scriptures.
But that doesn't matter. It doesn't read. You don't have to read that. You're not supposed to.
So that made you a believer because he threw you out?
Well, that made me angry enough to pick up my daughter's Bible, which it was a King James at the time, to go down the basement and start reading both Bibles.
Why would you go in the basement?
So nobody would see me reading the Bible. Because you're a modern Jew, you don't read that stuff. And I started reading the King James, and I started with Matthew, and I was looking for the killer Jesus.
And what did you find?
I found a lamb. I couldn't find the killer. You know, he loved us so much.
I invited Rose to go to Berlin, Germany with me because there was a gathering of Christians and they asked me to find some speakers. I suggested Rose Price. She did not want to go. Why didn't you want to go, Rose?
To go back to that accursed land, to Germany, speak on forgiveness? Come on now, have mercy on me.
But you and your husband and I were on that plane headed to Berlin.
Lord, it was a long plane flight. It was hard.
But you know something? When you went out in that big stadium, it was the stadium, by the way, that Hitler said they would rule forever from. And in that stadium, there were Jewish flags waving, young German Christians, listen to this, young German Christians with Jewish stars, what effect did that have on you?
Well, definitely, because I took off my star, you took off yours, and we went to Germany, and he had German people wearing the Jewish symbols. I mean, it's kind of funny to show. It had a big effect on me, yes.
And after you spoke there, a man came up to you, and what did he say?
Well, he was one of 6 or 7 men, but this particular man asked me to forgive him because he was a guard in Dachau.
You were in Dachau?
I was in Dachau, yes.
What did, at that moment, be real right now, and I know you are, What went through your mind when this...
Kill him.
Why?
Because his job was punishment. And his mildest punishment was throwing us into the mud with face down and step on us and break the bones, because we were just bones, skin and bones. And many, many of the people just remained laying there and beating us, constantly beating us. And here he is kneeling in front of me.
What was he asking you for?
To forgive him. And I thought to myself, I forgive you. I'm going to send you where you wanted me to go. I mean, very simple. I didn't even remember I had spoken on forgiveness. I was so semi-conscious. I only knew this guy hit me. This guy hurt me, and I have to break his neck, and that's the opportunity I have. And I put my hands out. And then the Lord just took my hands and put them back. That's when Peter, Corrie ten Boom's nephew, dubbed me the Jewish Corrie ten Boom. When he saw my hands going back.
So your hands went back, and then what?
Back this way.
And then what happened?
The man got up, and I said something in German for the first time because I haven't spoken German. And I said, okay, I forgive you. But I really didn't mean it. It took me a while to learn to forgive. But I could say now, I totally forgive. Not just the Germans, but also the Polish.